Now I know it's not here yet, but Christmas is just around the corner. And in today's episode, I want to give you a video packed full of ideas and inspiration using products from the Dollar Tree to try. Now let's head to the Dollar Tree to grab our supplies and let's get crafting. This ornament is so whimsical and downright adorable. I'm going to use a small terracotta pot, a round wood ball that's flat on one side so you can see it sitting there nice and flat, some fabric, and then I'm going to pull out some buttons. I happen to have these star buttons on hand that I picked up from Joann's a couple years back, and I'm pretty sure they still have them. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out 3 of them, and then we're going to start with adhering the wood ball to the bottom of the terracotta pot. And I'm using a combo of E6000 that'll lock that wood and terracotta together, and hot glue. The hot glue will hold it in place while the E6000 is drying. Then I painted it white, and I'm going to come back in with a small scrap of fabric. I'm going to use this red and white ticking stripe fabric. I just love this fabric, and I'm kind of using it a lot this Christmas season just because I think it has that country charm that I adore. So you can see here I'm going around the neck part of my little snowman ornament, and I'm just wrapping around that fabric to create a darling little scarf. I folded it in half to add a little bit more texture to the bottom of the scarf, and then I'm just going to cut off any extra that I don't need that's hanging down too long. Once I've got the scarf on, now we're going to move on to the hat. I've got another piece of fabric, and you're going to see here that I'm actually like flipping it around a bunch of different ways, trying to decide which way I like the fabric to be closest to the face. I'm going to make a line across the forehead, and then I'm going to make a straighter line across the back because I don't want it to come too far down where it's going to make the hat pull backwards. You can see here that it's kind of pinched towards the top like this. I want the fabric to be as straight as we can towards the top, but I want it to also kind of go back a little bit at the forehead. So I'm now going to just lock in both sides with my hot glue, pull it up, and you can see at the top, if you've got this oval type shape at the top of your fabric, you're in good shape. Now we're going to take the scissors and we're going to just do little snips all over it, the very top of that fabric. It's going to look like a cute little spiky hairdo. And then I'm going to take some twine, tuck it down in there, and glue it into place because this is going to be how our ornament hangs up. Because once we tie the hat together, you won't really be able to get that in there. So now I'm going to take some red yarn, and I'm going to just do a double knot off to the side of the hat, pulling all of those little fibers together into the middle so it's got that pom-pom at the top of a winter hat. Make sure your string is nice and straight still. And then once you've got that knotted in place, you're going to want to cut off any extra of the yarn if it's too long, and you could embellish the hat a little bit if you want to take it that extra step, but I decided I loved the hat because it was already so busy with the fabric. Now we're going to go ahead and add on those buttons down the snowman's tummy, and this would be such a cute project around the base or that rim of the terracotta pot towards the bottom. You could customize it and put names for each grandchild or family member. Now we're going to just simply add on a face and a little bitty nose, and at this point it is the cutest ornament I think I've ever crafted here on my channel. You will see so many of these type of deers on high-end websites. Pottery Barn, even Target. They sell these for anywhere between $15 to $30. They had them at the Dollar Plus section for $5. So I'm going to take some of the picks and frosted glitter stems from the Dollar Tree and a piece of this foam square, and I'm going to cut it down to size so that I can glue it to the base inside of the deer's legs. Now I'm going to use some E6000 because I don't always trust just hot glue by itself. So I'm going to use my little key tool here. I love this tool. I had a subscriber send it to me a while ago where I can basically just twist it and it'll allow me to always keep the pressure in my E6000, and then I'll be able to, you know, get out the amount I need, put the cap back on, add some hot glue, and pop it into place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of these leaves from one of the picks, and I'm going to kind of build up the base a little bit because I don't want to see this foam. We want to make sure we're covering it with as much greenery as we possibly can. So I'm going to add in first those green leaves, then I'm going to come in with this silver frosty looking pick that looks like twigs but it has glitter. Then I'm going to add in some frosted berries and some beautiful vibrant red berries. And anytime the berries get in the way, I do kind of pull a little bit off on the end just to make sure I have a nice good imprint into the foam and I can hot glue it into place without them popping out over time. Now this next step is optional. You can put in honestly whatever you want. I am going to be using a pick that I had on hand. It's actually a long garland strand I get from Hobby Lobby whenever they have it on sale for their greenery long garlands. And I'm simply just going to cut off a couple pieces and pop those in because I really love how boxwood looks with Christmas berries and some moss in there. And at this point you can see adding all this extra texture in there really does just bring it to life and makes it look real. I think that's the thing I love most about using faux greenery. When you start blending different types of them together that complement each other, it looks so beautiful and high-end on a strict budget. For this craft, we're going to be using some nautical rope, some that's already been untwisted and some that's twisted, some greenery, some ticking stripe fabric, white burlap, which is actually my favorite to work with around the Christmas season, 2 gold jingle bells, and then one of these frosted berry picks. All of these things have come from the Dollar Tree except for the fabric. Now I'm going to take my white burlap and I'm going to layer it about 6 times so that when I do this little hand cutout, you can see here that I'm just tracing around my hand with a Sharpie marker to create a mitten pattern. And I want to be able to create 6 of them at the same time. So I'm just going to cut the fabric and I'm making it where, you know, the edges don't have to be perfect because we wanted to have that rustic country charm. So we're just cutting off any extra that's bulky and causing any issues to cut it. And then once I've got those all cut out, I'm going to need 6 of them because I like to take 3 for one side and 3 for the other mitten, the other side. And the reason why I do this is because burlap itself has a little bit of a hole to it. It's woven really loosely, and so sometimes the batting pops through. So I make sure that I'm putting the batting towards the back side of those 2 gloves, so the front side has 2 gloves to kind of prevent the batting from wanting to poke through. Now I'm just gluing it together and massaging the burlap to make sure that it's nice and glued so that it's not coming apart on the sides. And once I've got that done, I glued the 2 gloves together. You can see that I've kind of brought one down a little bit lower than the other one, and then I added in some greenery, and now I'm adding on with that untwisted nautical rope left over from another project. I'm just tying that around to cinch up the wristband of the glove. Now you could leave it like this, but I really love the idea of fraying it, just making it look more rustic country charm for Christmas. And then I'm just going to glue them down in place because I like things to stay where I put them. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my nautical rope that's still twisted and I'm going to glue that inside of the 2 gloves. And the reason why I love that is because we'll be able to hang it up somewhere on a hook or a doorknob or a door, whatever you want to put it on. And now I'm just going to add in some of these berries. I think the berries, bringing in that pop of red with green, just has that traditional beautiful Christmas look to it. So once I've got that in place, I'm going to add on those 2 gold jingle bells, and I'm just using hot glue. I like to make sure that when I do glue with metal, there is some kind of an opening on the metal to be able to get the glue in to lock all into place. So the part where you can add some string, I'm putting glue into that hole and then putting the bells on the glove. Now at this point you can leave it as is, but again, I'm going for that country, rustic, primitive charm. I'm going to go ahead and just distress these with some brown paint. I'm just lightly brushing it on, going back over, adding on several different layers, and then for the bells, to give it a rustic look, I'm just simply taking some of that brown paint and tapping it on certain spots and corners and adding some to that greenery pick. Now the last thing I'm going to do is add some frost. I'm taking Mod Podge and I'm just tapping a nice thick clumpiness of it onto the gloves on the spots that frost or snow would fall on them. And I'm adding first a chunkier glitter, and then I'm adding a sugar glitter. This really just makes it look so beautiful and frosty. This next project is going to be using 2 foam squares and these 4 adorable wood cutout signs. Now these are meant for outside in your garden, but truly friends, I would not put these out in the rain or the snow because after a while they do fall apart. But we're going to make an adorable, whimsical, high-end, expensive looking door wreath. And it's really more like a door sign because you'll see it's not round like a wreath. But regardless, so you can see that I popped off all 3 of the snowman, the elf, and the reindeer, and I'm going to take an extra one of those sticks, and I'm going to just glue 2 of them together to get the length that we need, use 2 zip ties to secure it even more, and then with my butter knife that I keep in my craft room, I'm just cutting those foam squares in half. Then I'm going to take some hot glue and glue those 3 foam squares down really securely onto those sticks that came off of the other signs. Now at this point you can use whatever florals or greenery picks you want. I had these really beautiful red peonies that I wanted to put on because I loved the texture. I just thought they looked so pretty, and I went around the sides of the foam. Now I'm going to take my cute little signs and I'm going to start gluing those, kind of zigzagging them back and forth. And the reason why I did the snowman second and the reindeer third is because I didn't want the red and the red on the hats of the reindeer and Santa to be too close to each other. I wanted to mix it up to have that black in between and have the stripe on the bottom. Now I'm going to take some of this green mesh. I cut out a long strip, folded it in half, and then did a simple knot. I just looped around my finger and pulled it through. This makes it look like a bow without going through the efforts of struggling with making a bow with these things. I feel like the mesh netting stuff is so tricky to work with. The sides kind of stick to each other, so I like doing it this way, and you get the volume of a bow without all the effort. Now I'm going to just simply glue 3 of those in place to add in some fun color. And I'm going to do that same technique with the bow where I just fold it in half, tie a knot with this glitter ribbon. Beware, this stuff is a mess from this glitter ribbon. It like blew up glitter everywhere. You can see right below, but it's so pretty and it adds that pizzazz and sparkle to this front door wreath that we're making. So I decided to go with it. You can avoid this one if you don't like glitter. You can use a different ribbon if you would like. So I'm going to just add those ribbons on the sides, and now I'm going to come in with these red berries and fill them in even more, adding some more texture and just more dimension to this beautiful home decor piece. This is just such an easy, fun project, and it really just has such a wow statement on a door. So once you've got all those berries popped into place, I'm going to add a little country charm and add on this gingham bow at the top and the bottom, making sure I add in some more of that cute texture for Christmas. And then on the back, I'm going to just simply flip it over, take some twine to create a hook so that I can hang it up on my door. And that's it. It's ready to be displayed. These cones are such a find. If you can get your hands on them, they're from the Dollar Tree. They're $1.25 for each one in their floral sections. Now I'm going to be using 2 of them, the larger and smaller, 3 long garland 15-foot strands that they also have at the Dollar Tree, and then also a berry garland that they have at the Dollar Tree. Now this project is so easy. You're going to take your garland, you're going to unwrap it from its coiled up circle, and you're going to just simply tie the first top piece at the top of your cone, and then you're going to start coiling it down. Now I like to add a little bit of hot glue here and there so I make sure everything stays nice and tight without slipping. And I do have a tip when you're doing this: don't wrap it so tight that you're going to run out of the length to get all the way to the bottom of your cone, because you want to make sure that you have enough to get all the way to the bottom. And the one strand works perfect on the smaller cone. On the larger cone, I would recommend using 2 strands just because I feel like it gives it a better coverage. You don't want it to look skimpy. I think that's when it starts looking kind of homemade, you know, a DIY fail, as a lot of people like to joke online about, is whenever it starts to look skimpy and you can see holes through it. So I like to use 2 on the larger one and 1 on the smaller one. Now when you get to the bottom, you're just simply going to cut off any extra that you don't need, and then you're just going to wrap it around nice and tight at the bottom and hot glue it into place. Now at this point, it really is up to you what you want to do. You could put some fake snow on it. Now I've decided for myself, because I love that country charm Christmas look where it's traditional green and red. So I'm going to take this berry garland and I'm just going to simply coil it all the way down. And I'm not doing it super tight because I don't want it getting lost in the greenery. I want it to sit lightly at the surface. So I'm just kind of coiling it down like you can see here. And then when I get to the end, I'm just going to tie it into place. Now again, we could stop here. This is really cute. Or we could take it a step further, which I love to do here on my channel. I love to just keep playing with it until it has its own life and its own personality. So I'm going to simply take this bow. This is the easiest bow to make. You're going to zigzag back and forth until you get 4 loops. You'll have 1 in on one side, 1 the other side. You're going to flatten out the ribbon, and then you're going to just simply tie it into a knot. You know, go around the tree through the hole and then pull. So you can see here that I'm just taking that end part with the 2 loops and the end, and I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to adjust the ribbon just a little bit, and then I'll pull it tight. This is the quickest way to get a double looped bow, and it looks beautiful. You would never know. I figured this out a couple years ago, so I thought I would share it today just in case you haven't tried this yet. It's a really fun technique to get a really pretty bow that's nice and full. And then all you gotta do is just fluff your bow out a little bit, kind of zhuzh it, play with it, and then cut it to the length that you want. So at this point, because this is the smaller one, I want the ribbons to be just a little bit smaller. And then of course I can't resist, I'm going to add a little wooden star to the top.